he argues that.
Do not tell me to calm down.
It's been almost 4 years since the media went ballistic about 3 people enjoying a golf tournament. Everybody remembers the pictures. Smiling, joking, and laughing together with the former President Donald Trump, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the biggest star on US television, Tucker Carlson. Well, Trump was in the wilderness back then, completely banished after January 6th. Sure. Ron DeSantis was the great new hope for Republicans. But on that day, with this public show of loyalty from 2 influential allies, he began a historic fight back for which he once gave them both enormous credit. These days, the president says, among other things, that Tucker Carlson is a low IQ nut job and that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a deranged lunatic traitor. Well, their own personal strife with the president is a perfect picture of what's beginning to look like a mission to torch just about everybody who helped to elect him. And Marjorie Taylor Greene joins me now. Welcome to Uncensored.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Piers. Thanks for having me today.
Do you know what, Marjorie? You're one of the most fascinating people in American politics and have become that in the last couple of years, because the movement you've made is now being followed by a lot of other people. And, you know, I posted on X yesterday that Donald Trump, who I've known 20 years and consider a friend, but at the moment, he just seems to be on a mission to piss off absolutely everybody. And a lot of those people are people who've been big supporters of his. You, Tucker, he laid into Megyn Kelly, to Candace Owens, to Alex Jones. He's laid into the Pope. He's mocked Jesus Christ, which has offended a lot of the MAGA Christians and so on. Giorgia Meloni in Italy, he's laid into her now. He's laid into the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, pretty much every other European leader and so on.
Everybody's catching.
I don't know what is going on here, but I think my first question for you is, what do you think is going on here? Why is he so willing at the moment to want to torch so many people that were loyal to him?
You know, I think that's
honestly, it kind of, I'm gonna be real. When it came to Marjorie Taylor Greene, her separation from Trump came with the Epstein files because she felt like Trump was protecting, his friends. And actually, according to her during the phone call, that's exactly what Trump said he was doing to her. So, I mean, yeah, that's how it went down. Then, I mean, hey, yo, Trump, man, you wrong. But this is where Marjorie Taylor Greene effed up at. She had a lot of disagreements with Trump before the Epstein files, but what really separated them two was how, he was handling it. But before that, she was kind of going on, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, anywhere that would hear her, go against Trump with no pushback. And I always said that wasn't the best way to go about it. If you really wanted to get to Trump without him getting pissed off, you would go on Fox News and you would receive that pushback because, Fox News just love Trump. And it'd be better if you just get that pushback, not just go on to CNN where they're not going to challenge you because you're bashing on Trump. So that's where she effed up at. If you were going to bash Trump, you should have went to where there was going to be pushback and people would respect it more.
Question that everyone should be asking, and I don't have the answer to that. This has been shocking to watch the president change over the past year. While he's president of the United States, we fought very hard to get him elected. I myself spent millions of dollars, traveled the country, campaigned for him, spoke on his rally stages all over the country. And he called me a traitor because I fought to release the Epstein files. But just as you said, we've watched him turn on literally everyone that were once either his friends, his allies, or his supporters. And it's so concerning to me. And I honestly can't answer why this has happened.
You know what's really interesting? If you take your positions, for example, which seem to have enraged him, you wanted full disclosure of the Epstein files. Well, that was exactly what he said he wanted when he was campaigning in 2024 to be president again. You didn't want America to go into expensive.
Okay, I got about 500 y'all in here, man. Let's get to 100 likes by double tapping that screen and liking the video, guys. Appreciate the support, by the way, but let's make sure we get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys. We're about 40 likes away, so smash that like button.
Pointless Middle Eastern wars. Well, again, that's what he campaigned to stop America doing if he became president again. I look at this and think, why is he so opposed to you when you're basically taking the positions that he was taking himself just 6 months ago, or longer than that now, over a year ago? But you know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, shout out to my man, the lunatic libertarian. Said to stay hydrated, which I probably actually should do, but appreciate the support.
I have no idea. It is honestly something that I legitimately can't answer, and it's confusing, and many people don't understand.
Shout out Josh for sending a clapping seal for 250 joules. Appreciate his support, my man.
It. The way I feel about it now, though, is President Trump will soon be the past, and we have to look towards the future. And I think many of the issues that we thought were real problems back in 2024, some of them are still there, but they've also drastically changed. We have real problems in America now that Donald Trump has been president. We're finding ourselves in an escalating war in Iran, which is something that none of us want. It's one of the most unpopular things being polled in America today. But we have real economic problems, rising inflation, rising costs of gas, rising costs of living, younger generations that are unable to thrive and don't have hope for the future. But even bigger problems, nearly $40 trillion in debt.
You got to understand, it's like, guys, we were literally seeing a cheaper gas prices. Okay, I'll just say it like that. We were seeing cheaper gas prices all throughout Trump's administration till now. Now it's a walk in the opposite direction. Now gas prices are going up. They're cracking over $4. Inflation is back over 3%. And we're just supposed to sit here and be like, oh, well, you guys should be happy with gas, higher gas prices and higher inflation because Iran will have nuclear weapons. And we're kind of looking at y'all kind of crazy because, if you got some common sense about geopolitics, Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. So you're basically telling us we're going through this for no reason. Like, that's pretty much what you're telling us. Well, don't worry, Iran will have nuclear weapons. But even though you'll have higher gas prices, but look, Iran will have nuclear weapons. Bro, I'm sorry, but us not messing with Iran, that means we had low inflation. Gas prices were going down. And because now we're effing with Iran, we're just supposed to accept this now. Because, Iran won't have nuclear weapons that they never had in the first place. Okay. Please keep trying to sell that to the American people. You're only going to turn more people away.
And Social Security will be bankrupt in 7 years. So I think, this is the man that I supported to make America great again. However, I think America is going to find itself in a much deeper hole going towards the next elections.
Would you agree with?
Damn it, autocorrect. Thank you, guys. Somebody corrected that. My bad. Autocorrect. What can I say? Traitor. But most of y'all agree that Marjorie Taylor Greene's a traitor for some reason. And you know what? We'll get into that. But let me redo that poll. Sorry, guys. Autocorrect. But shout out to my man, Bobby. He says, all right, if Trump says he's a doctor, then damn, it's true. If Trump says he's Jesus, then he's our savior. This channel told me Trump was the way. No take back. Whoa. I never said Trump was the way. Hold on now. I said my man has some good policies walking in. I never said Trump was the way, the truth, and the light. No, that's Jesus. No. And that ain't Trump. Lord knows that ain't Trump. Whoa, I ain't never said that one now. That's blasphemy. Whoa there, buddy. Bobby, you're going a bit too far there, brother.
With the following statement. If we confirm that you have won, if we confirm that you are the greatest and most...
Look, I said to vote for the man. I didn't say to worship the man, okay? All right, then.
Victorious blocker in the entire world, will you put down the phone for half an hour, just half an hour, and attend to your main duty, to the 30 million Americans who have no health insurance, to the 800,000 Americans who are homeless, to America's infrastructure that's dilapidated, to the $38 trillion of United States national debt? Would you concur with that message to Donald Trump?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, those were the things that I had been saying to the president, to the speaker, to many of my colleagues before I resigned. Health insurance, for one, is a serious problem. And when the tax credits expired in January, there were over 200,000 people in my former district that were unable to afford health insurance. So yes, that's a statement that spans many issues. But yes, I would agree with that.
But here's the extraordinary thing, because that statement was made by the Iranian embassy of Armenia.
It doesn't surprise me. I think the entire world can see clearly what's happening in America and what President Trump is doing.
What the MAGA crowd will say, and I can hear them say it already when they watch this exchange, right? They'll say Marjorie Taylor Greene siding with the Iranians against Donald Trump.
Wait,
what do you say to them when they say that? These were people that used to love you.
I mean, that's kind of crazy though, because the Iranians stated out the fact that we're spending more on foreign wars than we're actually spending on our people to have good health care and all that good stuff. Yeah, I mean, they're not wrong. I mean, anybody with an eye can see that. I mean, just because the Iranians say it don't mean it ain't true no more. I mean, what? Because the Iranians say 2 + 2 is 4. What? It's not 4 no more, guys? All right, then. So just because the Iranians been stating what Americans has been stating for the past 10 years, I mean, don't make it not true no more, guys. I'm sorry. Just because the Iranians have eyes and can see what's going on in America don't mean it ain't true. As much as I don't like them calling it out, because who are they to talk? But hey, it is what it is.
I say I'm always siding with America, and I'll never apologize for that, no matter whose statement I agree with. Siding with the American people over cost of living, cost of health insurance, their jobs, the economy, and their future is always the right thing to do. And so I wouldn't be fazed by that.
The White House provided this statement to The Hill yesterday in response to your critique of Trump's DoorDash photo op. They said Marjorie Taylor Greene is a quitter, pathetically trying to stay relevant.
And guys, okay. So shout out to Oz the Boss, because you asked a really good question. Because you say, you telling us to not do anything against Iran? No, I'm telling you that we could have took a different route to make sure that we had eyes on Iran's nuclear capabilities, to the point where we didn't have to go out into this full-blown conflict. I mean, Donald Trump could have got them into a stricter version of the JCPOA, but for some reason he didn't. He could have just and then, like I said, remember, this is all about their nuclear program, right? Them maintaining a nuclear missile. Well, that was all low-key kind of nipped in the butt with the JCPOA. And if he'd have just kept that and maybe add some stricter guidelines to it, then cool. He'd have still been seen as a hero and not being seen to be too, soft on the Iranians. He didn't have to get into this war. And Iran was willing to give up their nuclear capability, according to the Iranian foreign minister. So every time we go into this deal talking about their nuclear capability, it seems to be about their ballistic missiles. And if you're asking me, all right, look, it's all about their nuclear capability to me. If it's about making sure Iran doesn't get to a bomb, then what I would do is make sure to get through diplomatic means. And Iran was willing to do that. But every time they're willing to do that, we bomb them or we move the goalposts. And if it was me, I would have just been focusing on their nuclear enrichment. I'm not bringing up their proxies. I'm not bringing up their ballistic missiles. One, because, they have a true belief in their proxies and they're not going to move on that, because that's something more of that's what they truly believe in. And two, about their missiles, that's basically me saying you can't defend yourself. So no, I'm just going to focus on their nuclear enrichment. I'm not going to listen to Israel about their missiles or their proxies. F them. If you want to solve that, go do it yourself. But if this was about their nuclear enrichment, we'd have been got a deal about that. We'd have been had eyes on them. But it's not. Obviously, they want to move goalposts and make it about their ballistic missiles that they're claiming, it's a shield for their enrichment program. I mean, it also could be a deterrent from them being attacked as well, like every other country got. Like, they can't have missiles now? And then, they want to talk about proxies. I mean, like, bro, we just pushed Al-Qaeda up to leadership in Syria. We want to talk about supporting proxies, supporting terrorism? Are you sure you want to have that argument?
By going on liberal media shows to bash President Trump. Unfortunately, Trump derangement syndrome has rotted.
And look, if we got Iran under a nice little diplomatic deal and they went outside of it, then sure, I'm willing to use aggression. But let's be real. All ways of diplomacy was pretty much sabotaged or faked. Or, like I said, a constant moving of the goalposts.
Former Congresswoman Greene's peanut-sized brain. Your response to that charming description?
Wow. I hadn't heard that until you just read it now. Actually, I had resigned after the president called me a traitor, vowed to literally destroy me, and was going to primary me the same way that he is doing to Thomas Massie right now, which I thought was so incredibly unfair to my district, who had elected me and President Trump. I'll tell you this, Piers, it's actually a really good thing that I'm no longer a part of the institution that has a 13% approval rating in the United States among the American people. Also, the same institution that can't even fund our own homeland security right now. So I'm actually very happy to no longer be in Congress and not have to receive nasty phone calls from the president that I supported to get elected, and also be called to the Oval Office to be scolded for not voting for certain things that he wanted that were against our campaign promises. So that would be my response to whatever little staffer at the White House wrote that.
And from a pure factual point of view, have you ever had your brain measured? Is it larger than a peanut?
I haven't had it measured, but I'm quite sure it's larger than a peanut.
The stuff that really, I mean, look, I'm a Catholic, and I found it pretty, I didn't like his attack on the Pope. It's the first American Pope. I think Pope Leo settled in very well. I like the way he speaks. No Pope's ever going to support war. It's ridiculous to think they would.
True.
He launched a full throttle attack on him at the same time.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense that the Pope wouldn't support war and, the killing of innocent people. But for some reason, I don't know, bro. We got Christians in our country called Zionists, or the evil, what was it? The evangelicalists? I forgot, evangelicalists or something like that. Well, it's a bunch of guys who actually believe in, Israel having their homeland out there in the Middle East, and they think that it's going to bring back Jesus. And there's Christians who literally believe that. So, AKA, they're okay with the killing of Arabs to bring back the coming of their Messiah.
Time that he was
there are, bro.
Repost.
Yes, there are Christian Zionists. I mean, bro, you ain't never heard of the term Christian Zionism? Like, come on now. But what sect of Christianity is it? I'm trying to remember.
Posting memes of himself as Jesus Christ, and then kind of preposterously tried to pretend he was a doctor, and that's what he thought he was doing. What do you were very critical of this. You described it as blasphemy, and said it's more than blasphemy. It's an antichrist spirit. I mean, you're effectively calling Trump the Antichrist there. Explain what you mean.
Yes, this came after how he called to, he said he was going to completely wipe out an entire civilization of the Iranian people, which was completely evil. And these statements came after what he said on Easter, which was atrocious. And then he put out the photo of himself basically being Jesus on Orthodoxy.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Gold. Evangelical, yeah, the evangelical Christians that they basically believe in the whole Zionist agenda, and they actually send money to Israel to actually carry out their Zionist agenda. I mean, yes, it's been exposed that Christian churches were sending money to these, the Israeli settlers to take over the West Bank. Yes, Christians. Bro, Christian Zionists are literally supporting Palestinians getting kicked out of their land and taken over in the West Bank, which is seen as is breaking international law, but they don't care. They don't care. Oh, guys, so make sure you can double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's try to get over 100 likes. Appreciate the support, by the way, but let's make sure we're double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys, and let's keep it going. Let's see here.
Which was so blasphemous. I think it shocked everyone. And
oh yeah, the evangelical voted for MAGA. Where's our Doge checks? I'm weak. Hey man, we could have got those Doge checks if they'd have let Elon keep cooking. Okay, we possibly could have got that, but I'm pretty sure Elon ran into that wall, and of course, the deep state was like, "Yeah, you gotta get up out of here. You're not about to cut our secret government spending. No." Especially since he was attacking USAID. Oh man, yeah. They really wanted him out of that one, because that's how we fund our that's how we fund our proxies. That's how we fund color revolution. So yeah. Oh, and that's pretty much like the CIA's little secret bank account in a way. So yeah, he had to get up out of there. And trust me, I wish he'd have stayed in there to dismantle that a bit more, but apparently they couldn't have that. And yes, those people did vote for MAGA. Actually, Trump's spiritual leader, she's an evangelist Christian. So goes to show you.
And then he comes out and says, "Oh no, that was me being a doctor," which was absolutely ridiculous. Everyone knows that's not him being a doctor. That was him literally trying to replace God, which is Antichrist, and that is an Antichrist spirit. And it's written about throughout the Bible and talked about among church leaders everywhere. It's talked about in the Catholic Church as well. And So yes, I called it exactly how I saw it. And I believe many Christians all over, and, you know, like you said, we all found it to be so offensive and blasphemous. But then he lied and he didn't even apologize. He said, "Oh, I thought I was being a doctor." It's like, no, you know, you're lying. But then he put up another picture, I guess today, of him being hugged by Jesus.
Yeah, we've got that here. We'll just show viewers. Yeah. What do you make of that?
I think I find it insulting that after he committed complete blasphemy and then lied about it, and now he's trying to play to Christians, like saying, "Oh, Jesus loves me so much." He's trying to say there that he's being used by Jesus, being used.
Oh, and shout out AJ for sending a thumbs up for 10 jewels. Appreciate the support, sis. I just seen it.
By God, playing the so-called Trump card. Well, we can look to the Bible and see in many places where God did use all types of leaders to accomplish all types of things, and they weren't always good things. And, you know, so the president constantly puts up memes and posts and tries to play to his base, but I think many people are so turned off right now that they're just not even going to fall for this one.
When was the last time you spoke to Donald Trump?
Agreeable.
The last time I spoke to him was on the telephone. I was in my office in the Rayburn building. He was at the White House, and he was yelling at me because I wouldn't take my name off of the discharge petition. And I told the president, you know, there's no way I'll take my name off of here. These are women that were raped at 14 and 16 years old, and we have to release the Epstein files. It's the right thing to do. It's what we promised. And he was so angry at me. And he told me that his friends would get hurt. He said people that I supposedly know. He said at Mar-a-Lago, and I'm not a member of Mar-a-Lago.
And it did turn out to be true. I mean, when it was released, Howard Lutnick was thrown under the bus. It was found out that he lied about meeting with Epstein. It's kind of crazy how Lutnick even has his job still. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, let's be real. It kind of proved out that he was protecting his friends like Howard Lutnick. And I mean, I'm be real with you guys. It is a bit crazy how he didn't get fired after being exposed for lying about his relationship with Epstein or beating up with him further down the line. I don't know, man. That's a bit too strange. Oh, guys, let's make sure we're double tapping that screen and liking the video.
I've only been there a handful of times for certain events or campaign functions. So I don't know these people, but he said that his friends would get hurt, and he was very, very angry at me. It was a very bad conversation.
What do you make of that, though?
He's covering it up. He fought us the entire time. He did everything in his power to stop the Epstein files to be released. He even forced Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, to do everything he could do to stop it from being released. It was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. We were even shut down for.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie though. Look, the most when it comes to Epstein files, I'm gonna be real with you. It's a damn shame to say this, but yeah, when it comes to Trump, the most information about the Epstein files have been released under the Trump administration. So I mean, even though it does seem like we had to twist his hand behind his back to do so, that is the fact of the matter. But what Marjorie Taylor Greene is speaking on is the fact that, yeah, it took a lot of force to get the Epstein files released. It took a lot of force to get the Epstein Transparency Act released. And it did seem like we had to pretty much force Donald Trump's arm behind his back. Because when this was getting pushed out and it was looking really crazy that Republicans were fighting against the Epstein Transparency Act, it was making Donald Trump look terrible. So Donald Trump had to pretty much turn around and be like, hey, nah, y'all need to go ahead and vote on this. Release it now. Let's get this going because it's making me look like, well, make me look complicit that I'm having you guys fight it. So now we got to go pretty much with it. And the Epstein files were released. Well, I don't know. I guess you want them released, heavy redactions and all that good stuff. But a lot of it did came out more than ever in history. And we found out a lot of things. And that made a lot of people look bad, just like Howard Lutnick. So I'm gonna be real with you. She's actually speaking on something really important because it didn't seem like Donald Trump actually ever wanted the Epstein files to be released. And that's just me honestly speaking about it.
8 weeks. We had a government shutdown back in the fall of 2025 for 8 weeks. And I believe that was part of trying to prevent the Epstein files from coming out. And it's covering up for rapists and people that have committed all types of crimes. It's completely wrong.
What did you think about Melania Trump coming out with her sudden statement last week about Epstein and demanding that people go and give evidence under oath?
Yeah, that was so shocking. The press was completely shocked. They were prepared for her to come out and maybe speak up about a bill she's supporting or foster care, an initiative she's supporting as First Lady. I actually was glad she came out and talked about it because it brought it back up in the news cycle, and I think it needs to be there. I don't know. I know there's many different things people are saying about why she did it, that perhaps she was getting ahead of a news story or getting ahead of some sort of information that may come out. But I was still glad that she spoke, and I was glad that she talked about the survivors. However, she called for them to go on record in front of Congress, and she called for Congress to act. And I actually disagreed with her there. The right thing to do is the Department of Justice needs to prosecute people. And that's what the survivors have been asking for. They've told their story over and over and over again. What they really want is justice.
When King Charles visits the United States in a couple of weeks, there's been a rumor which has been played down by the palace, actually, that it's unlikely to happen, that perhaps the Queen, Camilla, who's taken a big interest in victims of sexual abuse and so on, might meet privately with some Epstein survivors. That looks like it won't be happening. But King Charles will address a joint meeting of Congress. And obviously his own brother, Andrew, has been disgraced and shamed because of his involvement with Epstein, but hasn't actually put himself up for any scrutiny either by Congress or by law enforcement here in the UK. Do you think that it would be a good thing for either the King or Queen or both to meet with Epstein survivors when they're over in America?
Yes, absolutely. I really hope that they do. That was also what I had been asking of President Trump. I'd asked him to bring them into the Oval Office. He brings in all types of people in the Oval Office from all walks of life, whether they're sports teams that just won a national championship, no matter who they are, he brings in all these people. And I had wanted him to bring in the Epstein survivors. As a matter of fact, quite a few of them told me they even voted for him. And I tried to explain that to him over and over again, but he's refused to bring them in the Oval Office. But I definitely do hope the King and the Queen will meet with them and hear their stories.
You said the last time you spoke to him was over this. Have you tried to talk to him again, or has he tried to contact you?
I doubt it.
The only time I reached out to him was via text message after I had resigned and he had been attacking me, and I was receiving it in just, I can't even count how many death threats. And but the death threats escalated on one of my children. And I had sent those death threats to the FBI director, Kash Patel. I sent them to the vice president, J.D. Vance.
I mean, that is absolutely unacceptable, though. Just because she disagrees with Donald Trump, she's getting death threats. Like, that is absolutely unacceptable.
Susie Wiles, James Blair, and I even texted the president. And I was so upset over death threats on my children because of him. And the quotes and the death threat were from what the president had been calling me a traitor. And I'm not a traitor to my country. Standing up for rape victims doesn't make me a traitor. And I reached out to the president and to let him know this is what's happening because what you're saying about me. And he was very unkind about these death threats. And so that was our last exchange.
What did he say to you?
He basically blamed me. He had no compassion for death threats on my children. He blamed me basically that if my son were to get killed, it would be my fault.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, it was. And I said back to him, I said, no one's children should ever be the victim of death threats or have any kind of political violence brought on them because of our politics, because of our disagreements. He had no compassion whatsoever.
I know what some of y'all are thinking in the chat, man. Drop the text message. I ain't believing nothing till you drop them damn text messages. Because if Trump really did that, that is quite commendable. I mean, that is like, bro, I'm be real with you. We're gonna have to condemn him on that one. It's like, whoa. She came to you complaining about death threats to her children, and you're over here like, oh, you shouldn't have disagreed with me. That's what you get. I mean, your children deserve to die now because you disagree with Trump. Like, what are you saying, bro? That's wild, man. But all right, guys. Oh, make sure you send in any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements. Send it in the super chat. I believe we're like $80 away from opening up the call-in line. I'm gonna be in here for 4 hours, so we got a while to reach this goal. Open a call-in line, run conspiracy hour, fun stuff.
What do you feel about that? I mean, you knew Donald Trump very well. You were very close to him. You were very friendly, supportive, and so on. To reach that point in your relationship, how do you feel about that?
I thought that tells me exactly who, it's like a nail in the coffin. It tells me exactly who Donald Trump is. Some of my biggest political enemies would never say that to me. Democrats that I may have had disagreements with in Congress would have never said that to me. No one's ever said those type of words to me. I don't know what kind of person basically has no compassion or care to someone's child being threatened to be killed. It's unimaginable, really.
There are people who think that he's having cognitive, mental issues, his erratic behavior, extreme comments, and so on are escalating. Poly market, the prediction markets.
I'll be charitable and I'll say that, he could be going and having a mental crisis right now. He could be mentally losing it, or it could just be in a highly stressful situation right now. Like, mama, look, he's in a war. He's dealing with higher prices. People aren't really buying the whole, Iran got nuclear weapons, like BS. Yeah, he's dealing with a lot right now, and it could be highly stressful. And this is why he has this erratic behavior. Because if you've ever been in a highly stressful situation, you could be a bit erratic sometimes, or a bit quick to jump on people's ass or hop down people's throat.
There's 10% chance Trump's removed via the 25th Amendment.
Not saying that it's right, but just giving him a little bit of grace. But if he keeps talking like this, I am gonna have to call in his mental health, and I'm gonna have to call it into concern at a certain point. Like, bro, you sure you're okay?
Or 2027. I mean, I would think that's highly unlikely. But what do you think of this debate? From knowing him as well as you did and observing him recently, have you seen a change, or can you explain why he's now lashing out with quite such frequency?
I do think there's something wrong with him. Well, everyone knows that the president doesn't sleep very much. He doesn't get a lot of sleep. That can affect anyone's cognitive ability. It affects your moods. It affects your outlook. It affects everything about you, your physical health and your mental health. After he called to wipe out an entire civilization of Iran, and no matter what anyone thinks about Iran, how can anyone wish for their entire country, every man, woman, and child, to be killed? That to me is so evil, and it shows real mental depravity that needs to be examined. And after that, I called for the 25th Amendment. Do I think it'll happen? No, I think it's extremely unlikely. One of the problems within the Trump administration, one of the problems in the Republican Party right now, is people serve Donald Trump as if he is some sort of cult leader. And I don't know how anyone can't go against the president when he says such things as wiping out an entire civilization, especially anyone in the administration or any Republican serving in the House or the Senate that calls himself a Christian. They have to call that out. And there's an unwillingness there of every single one in the administration and every single one in Congress to be willing to challenge the president when he says such things, as well as saying we need to examine what his mental state.
Now, I'll give her this. There is some outrageous things that Trump does that when nobody calls him on it, and that does get a bit disturbing, even for me. And I'm just sitting here just like, whoa, come on, guys. Like when you got Christians out there trying to bend themselves backwards to say that, oh no, it was actually Trump being a doctor. What do you mean? How could you see Jesus? It's like, really, bro? Really? Come on, don't play stupid with us now. But no, there's really people who bend over backwards to defend Trump instead of just saying, all right, bro, that was wrong. That was wrong. You shouldn't have done it. It is what it is.
He's approaching 80 years old. And, we have to be really honest with ourselves. We were challenging Joe Biden's cognitive abilities and what is his health. And if we were willing to say that about Joe Biden and relate it to his age, then everyone should be honest and say the same thing about Donald Trump. It's completely absurd to not apply the same standard there. And so, this is another one of those issues where, look.
Now, I did say this. Imagine if Biden tweeted everything that Trump's been tweeting in the past 2 weeks. Bro, we'd be losing our shit right now. We'd be saying this man gotta go. He just was death on an entire civilization of innocent people. If Biden wants to do this, y'all have been outraged. But if Trump does it, you're like, come on. He was just playing, guys. You really thought he was going to do that? I mean, and we're looking at y'all like, yo, is he Mr. Fuck around and find out, or is he Taco Trump? Because y'all trying to tell us to take what he say seriously while also saying not to take what he say seriously. That's what I mean. The constant, like, bro, the mental gymnastics is crazy in the defense of Trump. The Simone Biles level gymnastics y'all is doing right now is astounding. That's all I got to say. Because let that have been Obama, bro. Let that have been Biden. Y'all have lost y'all goddamn mind.
I'm a Republican. I'm still registered as a Republican. I very much stand on issues on the right as like pro-life and border security. I'm against the trans agenda on children. None of these things have changed about me, but at least I'm willing to call it out and say we may have a problem with our president because look at the shocking things that he's saying. Look at the things that he's wanting to do. And what direction are we moving in, and how much can this damage our country?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, thank you very much indeed for joining me on Uncensored.
Thank you, Piers. It was good to talk to you today.
Well, joining me now to debate all this is the host of The Crucible, Andrew Wilson, Jack Posobiec, the senior editor at Human Events, who was at the White House this week, Joanne Carducci, better known as JoJo from Jersey, and Mark Lamont Hill, host of Bet News. Okay, let's start with you, Jack. You've been at the White House. It's a pretty shocking interview, actually, with Marjorie Taylor Greene in many ways, not least the revelation she was coming out with about her last exchange with President Trump on text about her son and so on. What's your reaction to that? I mean, there is a sense I'm getting that Donald Trump is lashing out at so many people that have either previously supported him or continue to support him, whether it's Riley